Out there in the void, Hippie Rizzo here, and I'm not as young as I used to. Getting a headache just taking that thumbnail. So, as above, so below. Now, this film has got sort of a mixed reputation amongst the horror buffs, genre aficionados, what have you. You'll either swear by it or can't stand it. So, I guess we're delving into a little bit about that. So, as above, so below. I looked it up earlier, but I believe it's 2014 found footage horror film. Now, it's found footage may be the wrong term for this one. I'd say it's better as a, because it's not really trying to pass off the footage as something that was discovered. I'd better describe this one as a first-person horror film. Most of it is done from the character at first talking to the camera, but once they get into it, they pretty much have little cameras on their headsets, and you're just getting everything from their perspective, which allows them to cut back and forth. So it it works pretty well in that, though at certain times the shaky cam does get a little bad. It's not the worst, but it's been done better. Alright, so another thing this one has going for it is it's the only movie, I believe, to have actually filmed in the Paris catacombs. And they actually did film in it. I believe after this one, I don't know if they were keen to let people film down there again. But, yeah. So, some of the things you're seeing are actual bits of the catacombs and actual human remains. Alright. So, it's kind of a complicated film to talk about. Mostly because not everyone gets this film right off the bat, and that's not just because of the twists and turns it takes. It's trying to be a smart movie. I just don't know if it completely perfectly pulls it off. Now, it goes heavily into lots of bits about alchemy, the Nine Circles of Hell, and a lot of references to Dante's Inferno. But you have to really know those to pick them up, because it doesn't hold your hand. So perhaps it's trying to be a bit too smart at times. The alchemy bits it usually does at least explain. The Nine Circles of Hell, you have to be on the up and up for. So, what is this film? A historical researcher named Scarlett. She's been trying to continue her late father's work, trying to find the Philosopher's Stone and prove about that Nicholas Flamel and his research were a legit area of study. I mean, Nicholas Flamel, we know to have existed, but she wants to prove that where the Philosopher's Stone is. And pretty much it opens with her finding finally a lost key, like a translation key, not a physical key, to decipher, well, where the Philosopher's Stone was hidden. And apparently it's hidden halfway to hell, beneath Paris in the catacombs. Somewhere beneath where Flamel's tomb is. But that's an off-limits section, and supposedly there should be no catacombs there, so it's a hidden chamber. So her ex-boyfriend, and her cameraman all band together and hire a professional, well, I guess it's a guy who knows the catacombs well, unofficially. So it's a guy who spends a lot of time down there through more or less a secret entrance. So, him and his team, Zed and Susie, Spielberg's name is Papillon, that's his call sign anyway, they join up and go down into there to try to find the stone. And it pretty much turns into the horror movie of National Treasure for a little while. Minus Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage could have made this a little bit better, I think. Anyway, so Um, and from there, things start getting weird. As essentially, they realize that the catacombs in this area pretty much are hell, and finding their way in is easy, finding their way back out, not so much. And that's really as much in the terms of spoilers as I'm going to go into the film for. Though I will say each of the characters has had something in their past that they either regret or some sort of transgression or sin they've committed, which seems to be keeping them there. So, and manifesting in some of the horrific visions that they're seeing along the way. Okay, so I'm on board with a lot of this movie. Problem is a bit in certain executions. Now, as they go down floor by floor, essentially each floor is supposed to represent one of the levels of hell. And if you know to look for that, you can see it and kind of figure it out. But it doesn't explicitly tell you that, and you really have to know Dante's Inferno to understand a lot of the references they're making, because it doesn't really point them out. Unlike a lot of the alchemy things, like the concept of as above, so below, they explain, as well as a lot of the more archaic alchemy terms. They go into that, but they kind of leave out. Could be because the characters don't quite realize that. They know that hell's supposed to be in that general direction, but they don't quite put together until they're already way in that, oh, we're there. So, the effects of the film overall, pretty decent. There's a few dodgy CG moments, but not too bad. I mean, that one guy has a car essentially fold up in or around on him. That one didn't look too bad, though it did look a little ridiculous with his feet kind of sticking out of the earth. But again, it's a Dante's Inferno reference. But once the creatures start kind of coming out of the walls, the faces on the walls look fine, but when they start bursting out, it looks a little dodgy on the CG end. So it's a smart movie, but it's trying to be a bit too smart. Also, kind of how the haunting or hell thing is going, I'm trying to figure out exactly what, how far its reach is. Like, at first she's in, I think it's either Iran or Iraq, I'm not sure off the top of my head, I think it was Iran, that, on their way out, she pretty much sees what looks like a man hanging there, that you're not sure what it's supposed to be. I believe it's supposed to, later on, it's kind of show that that's her father, so she's already seeing things that far. And then, and then as she goes around trying to figure out how to get in, a figure just suddenly appears and tells her to seek out Papillon. Later on, you see that same figure in hell attacking him. So, I mean, that was in the catacombs, but in the part that should be safe. So, how much of the catacombs is hell? Is it all of it? Is it just being underground now close in? Does that put you in limbo? I'm not sure the boundaries of some of this. I mean, there's one part there they cross into an area where they say, oh, that's the sign above the entrance to hell. But at that point, there are already several parts in, and it kind of hinted that the door that Papillon took, the hole in the wall that Papillon took them to get in, was the actual gateway to hell. But then why were they seeing things outside of that? Because things are also happening before they reach the hell gate in there. Like, they'll go through a tunnel, turn around, and the entrance is gone. So, pacing some of that out doesn't work completely. And I could have done with some more flashes of what these characters did to get to warrant their fates. Like, you see some things here and there, but there's a lot of space between them, and I could have used that filled up a little bit more with some more haunting images. But overall, it's not a bad film, and I think it's decently executed. Just, I wanted more, and while I say it does have a satisfying, it's where it ends, I'd say it's a satisfying conclusionary point. Overall, I was hoping for more on the way there. But the treasure hunt aspects are fun, just with the added panic of having essentially a horror film happening to them at the same time. I'll give As Above, So Below a solid 3, but at a higher end. 3 MacGuffins for me. Yep. And it's really all I can talk about, though, without going too in-depth. I mean, there's a lot I could, but it's hard to make sense in a context without seeing this one. Like I said, this is a very you have to have been there kind of movie. So take that what you will. I'd say it's worth seeing at least once if you're even remotely interested. But I could understand people not liking this film. For me, I never minded found footage films, and the claustrophobic aspects of this one are pretty well handled. But between this one and The Descent, for example, I prefer The Descent. Though I'd say it's better than The Cave. There's 2 more movies that'll have to slap reviews up for at some point. Well, yeah. So all I can really say on As Above, So Below. I'd recommend checking it out as before if you have any interest. Take care. Have a good night.